Welcome guys, I hope everyone is excited for handstand training today. It's been a long time in the coming. Me, Jordan and Callum have spent like over a year developing this handstand course, and then today you're going to see like 6 top tricks and secrets that we think are vital for your handstand training, handstand progression, so I think you guys are going to get a lot out of it. Now Jordan is like a master at presenting this kind of information in like easy understandable ways, so I'm going to pass it over to him. But before I do, just be sure to have like a notepad and a camera ready to take screenshots of the slides, because there is a hell of a lot of information and we're going to be working at quite a fast pace. So yeah, you want to make sure you get as much down as possible so then you can go away and implement it. But please enjoy.
Hey, what's up everybody? Jordan from Plant Calisthenics here, and thanks for tuning into this free handstand training. I'm excited to have you. So today we're going to be talking about handstand mastery, the top 6 secrets to unlock a perfect handstand. And just really quickly, put any questions that you have into the chat box. Let us know where you're from, what your name is, and what you're struggling with, right? We want to help. We're going to try do our best to answer those questions as we go. So, our goal on this training is to take you from where you are now, which is if you're anything like me, was wondering why the hell this handstand thing is taking you so long. You're spending hours in the gym, you're kicking up against the wall thinking to yourself, what the hell am I doing wrong here? To understand exactly what's holding you back and to see a clear path to unlock and master your handstand. I'm going to show you why aimlessly practicing progressions is the old, slow way of training, and ultimately why breaking down your handstand into 6 simple components is the new way to unlock and master your handstand, and give you that 6-step process to unlock and master that handstand in months instead of years. And finally, as a little bonus, to stay until the end, we're going to be giving you the mindset hack that's going to make you actually take action. Because even if, at the end of the day, I literally give you the best secrets and strategy to mastering a handstand you've ever heard, it all means absolutely nothing if you don't take action. Okay, guys? So make sure you stick around until the end. I'm going to be sharing all of that, and it's going to be an absolute game changer for your training. So, a quick overview of the training. First, I'll share about sort of 5 minutes of who this training is for, who we are, our background, and how we put the secrets together. Then we're going to be giving you a sneak peek at some of the content inside our full handstand mastery course by revealing the top 6 secrets to mastering a perfect handstand. And as a bonus, we'll be covering the 3 tips to actually practicing smarter, not harder. And then if it's okay with you guys, because I'm giving away so much free value in this training, I'm going to make an exclusive offer at the end for anybody who wants to learn more just beyond this free training session. And to close out the training, I'm going to be answering a long list of most frequently asked questions, because guys, we've had thousands of people watch our training, so I've written down the most asked questions and I'll be answering all of them at the end. So make sure you stick around until then. So who is this for? This is for any bodyweight athlete that wants to take their training to the next level and unlock a handstand. You can be a complete beginner or intermediate, but even if you're a fitness professional and consider yourself very advanced, there are things that we're going to be covering that I'm confident you've not seen anywhere else. So this is for those of you who are sick and tired of not seeing the progress that you want and you just feel like you're going through the motions. Basically, anyone that is addicted to movement, wants to learn how to do cool and impressive skills, and is sick and tired of just practicing for hours on end without seeing any results. You troll YouTube for tutorials and you try the newest and sexiest progressions and nothing seems to work. Now this is going to be about 45 minutes to 60 minutes long, so make sure you turn off all distractions, turn that phone off, take some notes, and let's get into some handstands. So first off, a little bit about us. My name is Jordan, I'm 30 years old, I'm from New Zealand, that's what you hear in my accent, and together with Callum we started Plant Calisthenics 3 years ago with the vision to empower people to change their lives using plants and calisthenics as positive vehicles for change. Since then we've built an incredibly successful online business with tens of thousands of students and fans, all part of a community that share the same passions. And that lovely blonde on the right there is Rosie Burr, and we've partnered up to put this handstand webinar together and ultimately our handstand mastery course. So this is me here, co-founder of Plant Calisthenics, and calisthenics really changed my life, and I was able to get into the best shape of my life. You can see that sort of transformation happen here and get over crippling neck pain and out of a soul-crushing finance job to now where I travel the world and teach people how to master their body weight as well. And you can see here I've managed to unlock things like handstands and get pretty proficient on the gymnastics rings, which is probably my favorite apparatus. Callum is the other half of Plant Calisthenics. He's currently studying his Masters in Strength and Conditioning. He's a world-renowned coach, coaching A-list celebrities, top-level athletes from endurance runners to CrossFit athletes and everything in between. He's a certified FRC instructor and personal trainer. And you can see here Callum demonstrating his incredible strength on the rings on the left there, and his incredible control at Leeds Gymnastics Club here on the right, rocking into straddle planche, and then pressing into a handstand like it's nothing. And then I think he's also going to lower into a full planche just because he can. We've partnered up with one of the world's best hand balancers, Rosie Burr. She was the British gymnastics champion and European medalist, one of the most incredible athletes you'll ever meet, unbelievably hardworking, driven, and an incredible coach in her own right. And you can see her performing things as if they were nothing, pressing to handstand, rocking onto one arm, and also she's a little bit flexible. Just kidding, guys. She's also a contortionist, but basically just an absolutely all-round athlete, master of her craft. We've created an online community that is growing every day of athletes learning how to optimize and systemize their training so they become the strongest, most in-control versions of themselves. And I'll pop that up on the right-hand side of the screen now. So if you want to join that Facebook group with all of this free, valuable content in there, I highly recommend that. And don't worry, guys, it shouldn't affect the webinar. Together, the three of us have worked with thousands of clients, helping them build incredible strength and unlock their dream skills they never thought possible. Here's just a handful of those people. We've trained with and learned from some of the absolute best coaches in fitness, and we've learned the same methods that high-level athletes like the Canadian basketball team, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Honored Academy, just to name a few, use to train their athletes. In short, we've learned what it takes for any athlete at any level to succeed, and today I want to show you how all of that experience and knowledge can be distilled down to 6 simple secrets to help you unlock and master your perfect handstand. So, let's get into the secrets then, shall we? Secret number 1 is to follow handstand-specific assessment exercises. If you've been following us for a little bit now, you know that we are massive advocates for proper assessment. In fact, this whole presentation could just be about how important assessment is, because without assessment, you are guessing. And if you really boil it all down, the reason you aren't where you want to be in your handstand training is because of one thing. You don't know what's wrong and you don't know how to fix it. And the only way to solve that problem is with assessment. And we're going to show you how to do that today. Without assessment, you're making a guess on what's holding you back, and when your training and decisions are based upon a guess without 100% certainty, then how can you expect to get any results? Which is why most of you struggle so much and end up regressing to the method I see most of all, the if I practice enough, one day it'll click, right? Mentality. So if that's where you are right now, guys, you're in trouble, but you're in the right place. Because once you know what's holding you back and you get proper assessment, you can start to work on addressing the deficits. So first off, the most common problem that we see is people just lack the shoulder mobility or control. So what this means is that a perfectly aligned handstand is impossible, and you end up looking like a big dirty banana or planching like Rosie on the left there. So what you're aiming for is that perfect straight line like Rosie on the right there. So an exercise to test whether you have the adequate shoulder flexion is what we call wall angels. So I'll just give you a quick preview of that. So if you're not able to keep the hands and elbows to the wall at the bottom of the movement, like on the left, then this may mean that there's an external rotation range of motion restriction. And if you're not able to keep the hands to the wall and lock out at the elbows, like the picture on the right, then this may mean that there's an overhead range of motion restriction. And if you can't perform these wall angels correctly, most likely you're not going to be able to get into a properly aligned handstand. And if you can't perform these wall angels correctly, we go over exactly how to address these different types of restrictions in the full course. But that's the shoulders. Let's talk about the wrists, because this is probably the second most valuable assessment exercise you could possibly have in your handstand training. These are wrist rocks with lift. Now what they do is they test your wrists' passive and active flexibility, because one of the most common things that we hear from people is that their wrists are always so sore or they have a pinching when they try to perform a handstand. Most likely this is because you don't have the range of motion in your wrists to be able to load it with your full body weight. So I'll let Callum demonstrate the exercise here. As you can see here, Callum goes into his full passive end range, which is far past 90 degrees. And then he rocks back and lifts with his wrists actively into wrist extension. And he's able to keep his shoulders stacked over his wrists. Now this tells us that he has the passive range of motion he needs to be able to get into a good line, but also the active control over that range because of that lift. So he's able to use his wrists to stabilize. Now this was an absolute game changer for me in my handstand training. I've been training for 2 years without any real progress and still in a dirty banana handstand, and maybe if I was lucky, I'd hold it 1 out of 100 times. Callum saw me handstanding one day and explained to me that my shoulders weren't stacking over my wrists, my elbows and back were bending to compensate. So he gave me a proper assessment and we found that I didn't even have the passive flexibility in my wrists to get into 90 degrees of extension. So basically, a handstand was impossible for me. What this meant was that I knew what the issue was and I knew the interventions I needed to take to increase my wrist mobility. So, after a few months of working on my wrists, I gained more range of motion, and all of a sudden, something that was so hard for me became suddenly so embarrassingly easy. And you can see on the left here, Callum is demonstrating his passive flexibility by being able to get well past 90 degrees in the passive rock. And if you aren't able to do this, it's most likely because you have a range of motion restriction. And on the right here, you can see that he's able to get into a active lift of his wrist, of his hands off the floor, and still remain at 90 degrees. And if you can't do this, you have an active range of motion deficit. So that's just 2 of the 4 handstand specific assessment exercises that we all encourage everyone training handstands to do. Obviously guys, I don't have time to go in depth into each one and dive into detail on the different types of deficits that you can find and the interventions to fix those deficits. We do, however, dive into each and every one of them inside the full course. But let's get on to the second secret. Secret number 2 is to practice your alignment. Now, most people I see in the gym or students that have come to us in the past are more concerned with holding themselves up by their hands by any means necessary because that's all that counts, the amount of times that you can keep your feet off the ground. Unfortunately, a banana handstand doesn't count, guys. That's the wrong mentality here, because a handstand shouldn't be that hard if you nail the alignment. And you can tap into another little secret of a handstand, which is to actually balance on your skeleton instead of trying to muscle your way through it. For example, let's do a little thought experiment here. Stand up for me. Stand up tall and straight. And how many of you feel like you're exerting a huge amount of effort to stay up straight? Probably none of you, right? That's because your knees are stacked over your ankles, your hips are stacked over your knees, and your shoulders are stacked over your hips. And if you walked around like these examples here and you weren't fully aligned, it would probably be much more difficult than it needed to be. And the same is true for your handstand. So working on your alignment is one of the most important things to focus on to increase your handstand hold times, because it's a lot easier to balance on your skeleton than to just muscle your way through a 60-second handstand hold. And that's how some hand balancers are actually able to handstand for 10 to 15 minutes at a time. It's not strength, it's alignment. And when it comes to alignment, one of the most important things to focus on is your core. But not the way that people think. We hear it all the time. People tell us, I don't have enough core strength to handstand. They tell us that they need to focus on building their core strength up because they just seem to flop over in handstand. And yes, you need core strength, but it's not nearly as important as core awareness. So let's talk about the midline for a second, because if that isn't set right, your legs are going to flail all over the place and your core is just going to feel like jello. So I want to give you guys a sneak peek inside the full course here, where we have Callum and Rosie going over one of the tutorials inside the alignment component, the midline position.
Hey guys, in this tutorial we're going to talk about the correct midline position for your perfect handstand hold. I'm here with the lovely Rosie Burr and she's going to be showing exactly how it's done. We're going to start in a supine position and we're going to work on 3 points or 3 cues to work on to find the correct midline position. The first one is going to be engaging the upper abdominals and drawing the ribcage down. The second one is going to be work on tilting the pelvis under, engaging the lower abdominals and setting it in through there. Finally, to tie it all together, we're going to work on squeezing the glutes as much as possible. Okay, so you can see that Rosie's drawing the ribcage down. We're going to work on tilting the pelvis under and engaging the lower abdominals to set this in place. Finally, we're going to work on squeezing the glutes as much as possible, and this is going to tie it all together. So once you're able to find the correct midline engagement in the first position, it's now time to make it a little bit more complex, apply a little bit more coordination, and actually try and perform it in a high plank position. So Rosie's going to get herself into a high plank, and she's going to once again work on them 3 things. Number 1, drawing the ribcage in, engaging the upper abdominals. Number 2, tilting the pelvis under, engaging the lower abdominals to set that in. And finally, squeezing the glutes to tie it all together. What you don't want to do is open the ribcage, lose that engagement through the upper abdominals, tilt the pelvis outwards, which is going to lose that connection through the lower abdominals, and finally, relax the glutes. So if Rosie brings it back to a good position, beautiful. So once again, she's engaging the upper abdominals, she's tilting the pelvis under, and she's squeezing the glutes to tie it all together. Finally, guys, we're going to look at the most complex way of finding that correct midline position. We're going to start in standing. So Rosie's going to get herself in standing, she's going to bring her arms overhead, and she's going to work on them 3 points once again. Drawing the ribcage down, engaging the upper abdominals, tilting the pelvis under, and engaging the lower abs to set that, and then finally squeezing the glutes to tie it all into place. What she doesn't want to do is extend through the ribcage, losing the upper abdominal connection, tilt the pelvis back, losing the lower abdominal connection, and then finally relax the glutes. Show us good once more. Beautiful. You can really see the difference there. Finally, let's look at it in a handstand position itself. That would be a good position, and that would be a bad position. Beautiful. Awesome, guys. That's your midline position. Enjoy.
So guys, can you see how much of a difference it makes when you have that awareness in your handstand around your midline? Did you see how much more aligned Rosie's handstand became when she followed those cues? Doesn't it make so much more sense to actually work on your alignment away from your handstand before you implement it into your handstand? If you aren't practicing your alignment, you're going to end up looking like one of those wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube men. So I encourage you to practice those positions in your training to ingrain the correct awareness and positioning, and when you're in your handstand, it'll just become second nature and you'll understand what to engage in your midline specifically. Because how do you expect to be able to hold a handstand if you aren't even able to lay completely flat to the floor like Rosie did in the very first example? So the third secret is to pretend that the wall is glass. So I'm going to explain that in just a second. Firstly, if you aren't using a wall, you absolutely need to be using a wall. Put your ego aside, stop aimlessly kicking up in the middle of the room and move to the wall. Trust me. The important thing here is to learn how to kick up and enter a handstand with control and grace, and not just throw yourself up like a sack of potatoes. And a good way to do this is to pretend that the wall is glass. So in this video, we've broken down the basics of the entry, the hold, and the exit, and I'll let Rosie demonstrate that. So guys, you can see here Rosie's being very slow and soft, and she's moving into the wall as if it's glass, performing the reps with control and grace, telling herself the floor is glass as well. So guys, did you see how graceful Rosie made it look? Do you see how she was taking her time, moving soft and slow into every single entry against the wall, as if the wall was glass, the floor was glass, and she was making sure not to shatter that glass by throwing herself into that glass. Make sense? So the next time you try handstanding against the wall, remember the wall is glass. Isn't that just such a cool little simple trick to visualize in your training? Now obviously there are a few different ways to enter a handstand: split entry, straddle entry, hopping into it, which we all cover in detail inside the full course, but we just wanted to show you the split entry style which Rosie demonstrated in the video, which we recommend for people just starting out. That brings us to our fourth secret, which is to learn how to float. So now that you're confidently kicking up and entering a handstand against the wall as if the wall is glass, you've got the right alignment and you've addressed any mobility deficits, it's time to actually start learning to float off the wall using your fingers, your wrists, and shoulders. Now, a really good exercise to start to play with this idea and to try and get the floating feeling inside your fingers, your wrists, and your shoulders is what's called back to wall floats. So I'm going to let Callum demonstrate here. Let's have a look from the side. You can see he's moving really slowly into it. He's taking those entry cues into account. Callum is gripping his fingers into the floor. He's pushing his wrists and shoulders also into the floor, and he's trying to pry himself off the wall without using his legs. If we look at his fingers specifically, one of the best tips that was an absolute game changer for me, and hopefully will be for you, is to learn actually how to spider your fingers. And in the next video here, we're going to talk a bit more about that. So here's another sneak peek inside the full course where Callum and Rosie talk about hand position in a handstand, and they dive into spider fingers in a bit more detail.
Hey guys, in this tutorial, we're going to talk about wrist and hand position in relation to your perfect handstand. I'm here with the lovely Rosie Burr, and she's going to show us exactly how it's done. The first point is going to be how wide you want to have the hands during your handstands. Now, if you're like Rosie and you've got super open shoulders in an overhead position, you want to be going slightly inside of shoulder width. If you're a little bit tighter on the other hand, and you find that it's quite difficult to get into a real nice overhead position, then you can actually go at shoulder width, and that's okay. However, you do want to work on addressing that overhead shoulder position, and then eventually working the hands a little bit narrower so you're more stable in that handstand. Rosie's first going to show us in a plank. Easy. She's now going to show us in a handstand. And you can clearly see that she's comfortable and stable in that slightly inside of shoulder width position. Now the second point is going to be what to do with the hands. When you're doing a handstand, guys, you want to have what's called spider fingers. So you want to be trying to grip the very ends of the fingers and squeeze them into the floor as much as possible. From there, you want to be trying to press just below the knuckle into the floor. Also, you want to be making sure that the weight is balanced through here, okay? So either just below the knuckle or just the middle of the fingers, anywhere in between there is where you should be resting the weight when performing your handstands. If you begin to go into the palm of the hand, you are going to fall. Simple as that. So first, Rosie's going to show us in a plank position. And now a handstand. Beautiful. So you can see she's really got them spider fingers going on, and that she's resting the weight through here and here. Okay?
So guys, I hope you can see that this isn't aimless practice. This is not guessing. This is a predictable, systemized method, breaking down the movements into its most basic elements and mastering each of them, and then finally being able to piece them all together. Which brings me to the next secret, which is essentially what I've been talking about this whole presentation so far, which is to practice smarter, not harder. Secret number 5. So, I'd be willing to bet that 90% of you have zero strategy when it comes to mastering your handstand, other than with relentless practice and unbreakable will, eventually you will handstand. And if your strategy is just to practice, you're in trouble. Now, while you're not wrong, just remember that even an infinite amount of monkeys sitting at their typewriters for an infinite time will eventually write out the entire works of Shakespeare. So the only question is, do you want to take 10 years or a few months to unlock and master your handstand? So I'm here to show you how to practice smarter, not harder. Practice is not the first step in your journey to mastery, it's actually the 5th step. So let me break it down for you. So you can see here, this is the mastery curve. And you can see here, the very, very first step is to understand exactly what's holding you back by going through a proper handstand-specific assessment, fixing any mobility deficits you have so you can actually start to build control and strength in those ranges. Secondly, working on your alignment, learning the correct positioning, and how to keep all your joints stacked so that you use as little strength as possible. And then you move on to entry. You learn how to move with control and grace by pretending the wall is glass and entering softly and controlled with intention. Then you move on to actually learning how to use your fingers and your wrists and your shoulders to float and control your handstand, to spider your fingers and to rest your weight into the knuckles of your palm. And once you understand those steps fully, then and only then can you actually start to practice your handstand hold properly. And the next step is mastery. Now, unfortunately, most of you skip steps 1 to 4 and jump straight into the practice step. And that's why it takes you 2 years to learn a handstand instead of a few months, because you try and throw yourself into a handstand when you don't actually have the shoulder mobility. You try some sexy progression you saw on YouTube, but you don't know how to control your midline or stack your joints properly. Yet somehow you expect to be able to figure it out in a handstand. You figure that with enough relentless practice, you'll unlock your handstand eventually. So as a little bonus, I wanted to give you 3 tips around how to actually practice properly and train smarter, not harder. So the first tip is to visualize your perfect handstand. Your belief and your mindset around your handstand and what you're capable or worthy of is possibly the most important factor when it comes to achieving anything of worth in your life. If your belief is strong enough, the facts just don't matter, and you won't let your current reality stop you. Thinking things like, I'm too old, I'm not strong enough, it's too hard, is toxic and will stop you from taking action. So the best way to cultivate this belief is by affirmation and visualization. So close your eyes for me for a second and let's do this together. Close your eyes and see yourself already holding your perfect handstand with grace and control. Feel your fingers making those micro adjustments. See your perfect alignment and the joy and elation you feel from being able to have that total strength and control over your body to perform such an impressive skill anytime you want. Feel those emotions as you visualize it and it will become real. Tell yourself things like, I am strong and in control and can hold a 60-second handstand with perfect form. And guys, I know this sounds like voodoo, but this is what top-level athletes do that you don't, which is why we dedicated a full section inside our full course around mindset, goal setting, visualization, and support inside our private Facebook group to keep you accountable and on track. And so bonus tip number 2 is to practice more mindfully. So understand that you need to take a state of calm and focus into each practice. And many people treat their handstand training as a meditation. And it's really important here to let go of expectations and attachment to one specific session. You'll have bad days, you'll have good days, but understand it's the sum of all of the sessions that count, not just one session. Which leads me to the last bonus practice tip. Tip number 3, use the slight edge principle. Now, the slight edge principle says that the difference between success and failure in every area of life are the small, easy things to do, but they're also easy not to do. It's that extra 100 calories a day, the last 2 reps you give up on, the 1 hour a day you watch TV instead of doing what will move you forwards in life, 10 pages of a book that you read every single day or you don't read every single day. They all add up and compound over time. And we all intuitively know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but how many of us actually integrate these powerful daily habits into our lives? That slight edge principle, those easy things to do that are also easy not to do. The same thing is true with your handstand practice. It's not a great big 2-hour-long session once a week. The secret is a little and often. Athletes call this greasing the groove. So secret number 6, guys, is to enjoy the journey. And you hear it all the time, so much so that it's become a cliche that life is a journey, not a destination. And while that might be a good Instagram caption, it also holds true for your handstand training. Handstands are about the journey, not a destination. They're about the person that you need to become along that journey. And while we use the words perfect, we do so facetiously because understand that you will never reach perfection. It's about being better than you were yesterday, always remaining a student and enjoying the journey. Just understand that unlocking your handstand is only the start of this journey, and once you have total control of this movement, you'll be able to explore other high-level skills. A solid handstand is a foundation for a lot of gymnastics movements. It's the foundation to build towards things like press to handstand, which we cover in our course, handstand push-ups, one-arm handstands, which Rosie is the master of. But more importantly, the journey to unlocking your handstand will force you to become a better version of yourself. It will teach you discipline, consistency, and perseverance. That's why it's such a highly coveted skill, because no one wakes up one day and just handstands. You have to earn it. And just imagine how much stronger your body will be when it's at a point where you can hold a 60-second perfect handstand. Imagine the control you will have over your body and how much more confidence you will have in every area of your life. Imagine knowing that no matter what challenge life gave you, you could overcome it and achieve anything you wanted. Would you look at yourself differently, with a different respect? Would your family look at you differently? Or imagine even if you could do what we have done, and many of our students have done, which is to teach these principles to other people and make a full-time income out of doing what you love and being paid to train every single day. Wouldn't that be amazing? Think about how different your life would be 1 year from now, 2 years from now, if you just mastered your body and unlocked a perfect handstand. Hand balancers charge upwards of $300 an hour for coaching. And with all the opportunity for at-home bodyweight workouts moving online, there has never been a better time to invest in yourself and master a skill like a handstand. So there you have it, guys. Those are the top 6 secrets to mastering your perfect handstand. Number 1 was handstand assessment exercises. Make sure you understand exactly what's holding you back, and then you'll know how to fix it. Number 2 is to practice alignment away from a handstand, on the wall, on the floor, in a plank. Number 3 is to work on your entry, pretending that the wall and the floor are glass. Number 4 is to use your fingers, your wrists, and your shoulders to learn how to float and pry yourself off the wall. And number 5 is to practice smarter, not harder, and to start looking at the mastery curve, and instead of skipping to practice, learn how to go through steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 first, and then you can practice. And number 6 is to enjoy the journey. Understand that you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, but it's about the accumulation of all of your days together, not just one particular day. But as I promised, here is the mindset hack that will get you to actually implement these into your training and how to trick your brain into doing hard things. Because really, guys, consuming information is easy. But how do you actually take action and break old habits? And I'd be willing to bet you've probably been on a training like this in the past, or you've coughed up $500 for a workshop, maybe even $5,000, and you get fired up, but then what happens the next day? Probably nothing for most of you guys. Or you have a spasm of excitement and action, and then a week later you're back into old habits. You commit to taking action and achieving a goal, and then you don't. And it affects your mental state. You promise yourself something that doesn't happen, and you lose trust in yourself, and then you start to lose respect. And somehow it becomes even harder to take action the next time, because it's like, yeah, right, what's different about this time? And you know this deep down. Just like you know deep down that this webinar isn't going to cause long-term change unless you take action, unless you do something different. And how do we take this webinar and implement some of the tips and tricks that we talked about, and it not just be another hour of your time that's wasted consuming more information that you don't apply? Well, you need 3 things. You need a start to finish solution to help you master your handstand. You need all of the pieces of the puzzle, not just 1 or 2, not just exercises and progressions, not to be just given a fish, but actually to be taught how to fish. You need a simple step-by-step structure explaining the principles. Secondly, you need world-class strategic and mindset coaching. You need specialists like the former British gymnastics champion and one of the world's best calisthenics coaches to give you the best strategic advice possible. And you need mindset coaching to overcome fear, self-doubt, and overwhelm. And finally, you need accountability. You need to be held accountable by a group of like-minded people all working towards the same goals, uplifting you, encouraging you, and coaches checking in with you weekly. Don't try to do this alone, guys. The journey is so much more fun and easy with a team and a coach. So let me ask you a question. How would you like it if we could actually help you implement these secrets into your training? Because that stuff I shared with you is exciting, right? Just think about how many doors would open if you had a perfect handstand. How much more confident you would be. How much more money you would make. It's all pretty exciting, right? Well, what if we could help you implement everything I talked about today and so much more? What if we could give you the tools and the principles and the accountability to shift your thinking and your training and actually take action? Because Callum, Rosie and I are so proud of what we've put together over the last year. The Handstand Mastery course has over 85 videos jam-packed full of valuable content, principles and exercises which we are adding to on a weekly basis, all broken down into simple components to follow. Alright, so here is what you're going to get in the full Handstand Mastery course, and this is lifetime access to everything. We've got mindset training, where we cover everything to do with mindset, getting over fear of falling, belief issues, how to think like a champion, how to set goals, and how to begin with why. Then we've got one of the most critical things missing in your training, assessment. Here you'll be learning how to assess your body with handstand-specific assessment exercises where we break down exactly how to pinpoint the things that are holding you back from progressing and the things that you need to do to fix any issue that you find. This section alone will turn any fitness professional into the golden goose, able to assess anybody as we give you all the tools to do this for yourself and others. Then we've got the alignment component, which is all about learning the correct alignment and the exercises to get the straightest, most effortless handstand possible, how to build core strength and awareness. Then we take you in depth on how to actually enter a handstand and provide you with the exercises and the principles behind the entry, and how to actually start removing fear from your training and to stop being afraid of falling. After that, the next component is all about learning to float in a handstand, what to engage and when, the micro corrections in the hands, the wrists and the shoulders, and how to achieve that floaty feeling every single time in your handstand. Then we focus heavily on the handstand hold itself, putting all of the pieces of the puzzle together and learning how to hold a handstand for extended periods of time with perfect alignment and control, and how to practice smarter, not harder. Finally, we look at exploring the new possibilities that open up once you build this amazing foundation of strength and control in a handstand, and look at higher level skills like press to handstand, one-arm handstand, handstand push-up, and many more to come. So the total value of all the components inside the Handstand Mastery course is $2,843. But that's only part of what we're offering today. So just the first thing you're going to get today is full unlimited lifetime access to the Handstand Mastery course. On top of that, we're going to throw in controlled articular rotation training, where we share with you part of the amazing joint training system developed by FRC and Dr. Andrea Spina. And these are the same principles being taught to high-performance coaches and professional athletes to maintain healthy joint function, range of motion, avoid and rehab injury. And if you've had your movements stolen from you, you'll know that there's nothing worse than feeling like a prisoner inside your own body that is constantly letting you down. Keep in mind, guys, that people charge upwards of $500 to $1,000 for just this one section alone. So you're going to get the Handstand Mastery course and the controlled articular rotations for a total value of $3,242. And of course, we have a private Facebook community group where you have access to coaches to review your videos, comments, and answer all of your questions. We host live Q&As, post exclusive content and trainings. We've got giveaways, special discounts with our affiliate partners, and much more. Not to mention the amazing community that we are building all around the world of people coming to train together, lift each other up, and keep each other accountable to their goals. So you're going to get lifetime access to the Handstand Mastery course and all of the content and components that follow. You're going to get the controlled articular rotations training, and you're going to have access to our private Facebook community group, bringing the total value of the course to $3,741. But we're going to throw in a couple of extra bonuses for you guys. For the people that take action from this webinar, the first 20 people that decide that they want to join, we're going to give general athletic strength and conditioning programming, because we are big believers in being a fully well-rounded athlete and not just a specialist. Utilizing bodyweight movements like ring rows, broken into beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels. We have a program to go alongside your handstand training that will not only help you build a foundation of strength that will help your handstand come faster, but it will also help every area of your athletic performance. A $399 value, yours free today when you sign up. So you're going to get the Handstand Mastery course, controlled articular rotations, access to the private Facebook community group, and strength programming, bringing the total value to $4,140. On top of that, we're going to give you a warm-up mobility routine for you guys to follow that will get your full body ready for anything you throw at it, whether it's handstands, strength training, CrossFit, or weight training. A further $249 of value, free if you join today, bringing the total value up to $4,389. And on top of all of that, we want to give you 43 minutes of follow-along flexibility routines to open up and stretch out every single part of your body to serve as great routines to increase mobility and act as fantastic cool-downs or active rest day sessions where we target spinal flexibility, shoulder flexibility, and hip flexibility. A $249 value, again totally free when you join the Handstand Mastery course today, bringing the total value up to $4,638. But let me share with you some of our students so you can see the value for yourself. So first off, we've got Marissa here. Marissa is a yoga teacher who had a good understanding of her body but couldn't seem to nail her handstand and unlock her press. She'd been trained for more than 2 years and she still was stuck. So after working with us, she unlocked it within about 2.5 months. Or Ollie here has made some incredible progress even after breaking his hand from windsurfing. And you can see here, he's really close to being able to press. He's got incredible control on his hips, which was a huge problem for him in the beginning. An amazing athlete. Now Luke here is a sponsored athlete, a personal trainer, and speaks on stages all around the world inspiring people. And he's unlocked his handstand along with many other high-level bodyweight skills. You can see here, the guy is also an incredible athlete. And then there's Margarita. She's made some really amazing progress coming from an extensive yoga background, going to countless workshops, realizing that most people don't have a clue and all teach the same stuff that just doesn't work. So after 4 years of struggling to sort of figure it out on her own and with the help of those yoga teachers and stuff, in just a few months she was able to make massive breakthroughs with fear and learning how to control herself properly in a handstand. Tanya here has an incredible story. She went from being homeless on the streets to finding her passion in fitness, and now she's been able to unlock her handstand and she's starting to teach it to others now. Or we've got Michael here, 68-year-old guy from the UK, proving really that age is just a number, holding his straddle L here. Incredible control in his headstand, unbelievable core strength. Or we've got Chris. He's continuing to explore and advancing on to high-level bodyweight skills from his foundation of a perfect handstand. And you can see him here lowering into straddle planche, just things that usually take years and years and years. Or Ben here, pressing out of a pool while on holiday, a cheeky little party trick that his mum caught on video here. And you can see the guy had terrible mobility in his shoulders and his wrists, so for him to be able to do something like this is pretty incredible. Or Agape. Agape had his movement stolen from him due to a wrist and shoulder injury. And after working with Callum, within just a few weeks, he had no pain and was able to start to get his life back and handstand once again. And you can see him here, stronger than ever, back on his hands. Amazing stuff. Or we've got students like Tsu, we've got people like Josh here, who's not far away from his press. We've got people like Alex, who has managed to unlock his 30-second handstand hold in his underwear there. We've got Joel working on his handstand, working on his alignment, getting so close to being able to get a perfect handstand down. Blake holding a handstand like it's nobody's business. Got an incredible line now too. And I mean, I could go on and on and on. We've got Chus, we've got Caleb, we've got Haley. These are all people who are sort of new to the course and still making amazing progress. So you guys can see that this is following a step-by-step process. This is not just practicing. When you break things down into their simplest components and you follow the course that we've laid out in front of you, results come really, really quickly. So tell me, what is it worth to you if all this course did was give you 100% clarity on what's been holding you back all these years? Now, just the assessment component itself is a game changer. Can you imagine knowing exactly what's been holding you back from unlocking your handstand all these years? No more guessing, no more frustration, no more wasting money on workshops, just a clear path to unlocking and mastering your handstand. What if all this course did was take 1 year off your journey? Now, a lot of our students have been working for 2 to 4 years on their handstand and press to handstand, and just after working with us for a few months, they were able to unlock them. What if you could quit your job and teach this stuff? Can you imagine making an extra, $10,000 a year from running a few workshops like some of our students are? That alone is enough to cover the cost of the course. What if you could cancel your gym membership and just train at home? How much money would you save in just 1 year? What if all this course did was give you the body of your dreams and give you more confidence in your everyday life? How would the respect you have for yourself change and the respect you command from others change? And what if all this course did was finally give you the blueprint to reach your full potential? How many of you feel like you're meant for something greater but are terrified it might be too late and you'll never realize that potential? What would it be worth to become the best version of yourself? So guys, you can see that the course is easily worth that high amount, but even though we could charge that, we are not going to. We're actually launching the course to the general public for $594. And because we're so confident you'll love the course and to remove all of the excuses you might have, we're offering 100% 14-day money-back guarantee. So there's literally no risk at all if you just want to give it a go. But before we launch to the general public, and while we're still in the growing stages of this course, we want to give you the opportunity to come in at a massive discount to work closely with us and help us literally create the best handstand course in the world. So we will be selling the Handstand Mastery course for a special discount for the next 20 people who come on board. We're giving 50% off to the first 20 people who sign up today, which means the total cost to get started right now is just $297. You get lifetime access to the Handstand Mastery course and all of the content that we're going to release. You get the controlled articular rotations training. You get the private Facebook community to keep you accountable and make sure that you are doing the right things. You get the strength programming to go alongside your handstands. You get the mobility routines, and you get the 3 follow-along flexibility routines, all for just $297. So click the offer on your screen, guys. It'll take you to a sales page like this. You enter your details, your email address, your credit card number, and make sure you tick the box. And it'll take you to a thank you page where you can create a login and a password, where you can have 24/7 access to the Handstand Mastery course portal. So now you have 2 choices, guys. You can take no action today and you can go back to doing the same things you've always done and get the same results you've always gotten. Watching everyone else around you progress, wondering what's wrong with you, coughing up hundreds of dollars for a 2-hour workshop where they won't even teach you what we teach you inside just the assessment component. Or you can make this small investment in yourself that's literally less than half a cup of coffee a day over the next 12 weeks. You can give it a go for 14 days risk-free, and if you don't have that aha moment or think you're too advanced or it's too easy for you, then you can get a refund. No questions asked. I want to remove all your excuses and give you that little push over the fence to make a decision either way. Because Rosie, Callum, and I have poured our hearts and souls into this course and stand behind every single component as being the most streamlined, easy to follow, effective, up-to-date course on the market. One that teaches you how to fish instead of just giving you a fish in the form of random progressions and exercises to follow with no understanding of what or why, or even if they apply to you and your body and your deficits or your needs. So decide what you want the next 12 weeks of your life to look like, the next 6 months, the next year, because I can guarantee you 1 year from today, you will have wished you started right now. Invest in yourself because your body is your biggest asset that you have. So there you have it, guys. The offer is good for another few minutes. If you have any questions, please email me at info@plantcalisthenics.com. I always reply within 24 hours. But before you email me, let me answer some of our most frequently asked questions. So the first question is, what if I buy but I'm not fully satisfied? Again, we have a full 14-day money-back guarantee, so there's literally no risk to join the course. If you aren't fully satisfied, don't see results, you get into the course, you discover it's too easy, too hard, or not what you thought it was going to be, then get a full refund, no questions asked. Easy. Question number 2 is, what level do I need to be at to start the course? So this is a good question. You don't need to be able to hold a handstand or even have half-decent alignment. That's everything that we teach you inside the course, because we've designed it so that beginners or advanced people will still take a lot of value from it and be able to follow each component. Ideally, though, you should be comfortable being inverted against a wall or something, at least for a few seconds. If you're not strong enough or confident yet with just being inverted and the idea of doing that petrifies you, we do have a free beginner handstand program for you inside our Facebook group, The Art of Bodyweight Mastery. So I would encourage you to download that and start there. Question number 3 is, I've been stuck at the same level for years. Will this course help me break through? And I know a lot of people have been at this for years, and it's frustrating, and some of you may have just conceded that you will never be able to handstand, and you're just not meant to handstand. But the biggest reason that we see people hitting a plateau or simply not progressing is because they're doing 2 major things wrong. Firstly, they have never been assessed. They don't know what they don't know, meaning that they were just like me when I was struggling with my handstand, and I didn't understand that my wrist's range of motion was my biggest limiting factor. So identifying this is absolutely essential to getting clarity on the things that are holding you back, and then you can work on the right things. That's why the assessment component is so critical, because we give you all the tools to be able to do this yourself. And with our guidance, get clarity on what's been stopping you all this time, and what actions and interventions to take for any deficit that you find. The second thing that we see stopping people progressing is that they're focused on the wrong things, and they're just practicing. So like I mentioned in the 5th secret, practice is the 5th step towards mastery. So many other things need to be focused on before you start practicing your handstand hold. Things like alignment, for example, which is so important to get right before worrying about what sexy progression to work on. And question number 4 is, why should I invest in an online course? I prefer somebody in person to coach me. Now, this is something that I think is really important to address, and it's something we have gotten a lot in the past, far less now as people are starting to see the value in an online training space more and more, especially now after gyms are closed everywhere. So basically, in-person training is always going to be better than online training, but with some very, very, very critical caveats. So if you have in-person training from Rosie and Callum 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, it would be ideal. If you had them there to spot you, to correct you, and teach you the principles that go into mastering your handstand, it would be perfect. However, the sad reality is that it would cost you thousands of dollars and would require you to come to wherever in the world they are at any given time. So being able to learn at your own pace and for a fraction of the cost means that you can have the best of both worlds when you're online with them. And not to mention, having access to Rosie and Callum online is infinitely more valuable than having access to somebody in person that isn't Rosie and Callum. So that's really important to consider as well. Online with us, you're going to have the accountability of a coach, you're going to have that community, and you're also going to be able to control when and where you practice and train. And when and where you learn the principles and exercises. So with the world going more and more online, people are having these preconceived ideas shattered as millions of people, especially in the current climate, are working from home and actually being more productive. Millions of trainers and gyms are shutting down and being forced to hold classes on Zoom and training online and are still thriving and getting amazing results. And as a whole, the global e-learning space is set to reach a value of $325 billion with a B in the next few years. So trust me when I say that online fitness and courses like ours aren't going to slow down anytime soon. Also, we're offering you hundreds and hundreds of hours of content for a lifetime for the same price as a 2-hour workshop in person that you forget the next day and you don't even implement. So online is the future, guys, and we all need to learn how to leverage its full potential. Question number 5 is, why should I buy a course when I can just Google it or the information is free online or on YouTube? So this is important to address because there's so much free information on everything online. First of all, it feels like drinking out of a fire hose a lot of the time, and having somebody put just the things that work in front of you and forgetting all the things that don't is invaluable in itself. But having just the information and implementing it are two very different things. So information and transformation are very, very different. And the way our course is designed is to give you that transformation, not just to overload you with information. We give you just the essentials and keep things really, really basic and simple without overcomplicating things, because often that stops people taking action. When people are confused, they stop. So we give you it in a very, very easy to understand, consumable way. And we provide you with a clear-cut, structured course that is focused on action and implementation, not just information. But most importantly, what gets measured and rewarded improves. So we have created an environment where success is inevitable. We support you every step of the way, and as well as we have a very interactive Facebook community group for support and accountability. Question number 6 is, if I'm a personal trainer or fitness professional, will this help me make more money? So yes, this course is ideal for personal trainers and fitness professionals. We've created this course so that it allows you to understand every single element of the handstand process and is broken down into clear components that you can apply to yourself and your clients. It's very duplicatable. Even if you don't want to become the handstand guy, just having another tool in your toolbox as a coach or a trainer means you're automatically more experienced and knowledgeable than anyone else, and you can add more value. Even if they don't want to go on to master a handstand, you can still teach them tips and tricks, like in the assessment stuff, for example, that we teach you. Because our goal with everything that we do is to teach you the process and to give you the blueprint to success. We want to be able to empower you with all of the tools you need to take action and unlock your potential. So you can easily duplicate this process with your clients. And once you have completed the course yourself and understand all the components involved in handstand practice, you could potentially double your session costs as a specialized handstand coach for certain clients, because some coaches charge out $300 per session. So just one session for one client will cover the cost of the whole course for a lifetime. So that's pretty amazing just there. Question number 7 is, if I buy the course and want to do one-on-one coaching in the future, can I? So the answer to that is yes. We provide additional one-on-one coaching, but it's significantly more expensive, and we only take students on by application only. So really, we only work with a handful of students at a time, like 4 or 5, really. So if you would like to apply after going through the course, then send me a message from inside the Facebook group, send me a DM or email me. Again, that's at info@plantcalisthenics.com. Question number 8 is, what does lifetime membership mean? So you will have access to the course for a lifetime, as well as having access to all course updates in the future. And because we're still in the growing stages of the course, our video library and course content will double and triple over the coming months and years. So rest assured that you will have access to every new component and video that we release inside the handstand course. Question number 9 is, I'm struggling with an injury. Will this help, and is this suitable for me? So first off, let me just say that we always recommend that if you do have an injury, to seek help from a medical practitioner in person. We actually have access to a large network of chiros and physios from all around the world, so we can put you in touch with somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. But we have put together that initial assessment process to help you identify any initial pains or problem areas that you can start to work on, and even just the controlled articular rotation training. A lot of our students have found in the past that doing those correctly and mindfully, they have been able to alleviate pain in certain joints. And finally, do you guys offer any nutritional advice inside the course? So recently we have been working with a major leader in the athletic nutrition space and working on integrating some of their best nutritional information specifically designed for athletic development and health into our courses. And we will be adding those as free bonuses for our students. So we're also constantly working with popular sports and yoga brands to bring you guys discounts for supplements and clothing. So more on that once things are sort of finalized. But just so you know that we are constantly updating and adding as much value as humanly possible to you guys. So that's it, guys. The offer has officially ended. Procrastinators or people having payment issues or website issues or whatever, hit me up, info@plantcalisthenics.com, or send me a message on Facebook if you're from the Art of Bodyweight Mastery. I'm out. Thank you for tuning in. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Plant Calisthenics and at The Rosie Burr to keep up to date on what's going on with us. I wish you guys all the best of luck in all your handstand endeavors. Remember to be confident, invest in yourselves, never stop learning and growing. Work smarter, not harder than everyone else around you, and I promise you'll find success. But that's it. I'm out. Thanks for stopping by. If you have any other questions, please let me know.